Looking at chapter 1 in the live animals chapter, again, live animals is just for ease of reference. It does not have legal bearing on the classification of our product. That's covered by the headings section and chapter notes. Looking at the chapter notes, chapter 1 says, this chapter covers all live animals except fish, crustaceans, mollusks, and other aquatic invertebrates of heading 0301, 0306, or 0307. B, cultures of microorganisms and other products of heading 3002, and C, animals of heading 9508. And then you have additional U.S. notes that you must look at. Again, these are legal applications. The first one says the expression purebred breeding animals covers only animals certified to the United States Customs Service by the Department of Agriculture as being purebred of a recognized breed and duly registered in a book of record, recognized by the Secretary of Agriculture for that breed, imported specially for breeding purposes, whether intended to be used by the importer himself or for sale for such purposes. And then there is additional note 2, certain special provisions applying to live animals are in chapter 98. So we have to look at the heading to see if that is the proper classification for our live horse. Then we have to make a determination of whether our horse is purebred or other for more specific classification. And by looking at the chapter notes, we find out what purebred means according to the tariff. And so we have got something here that's associated with classification that has to do with admissibility of these products also, in that that horse is going to have to be checked by a vet before it comes here for admissibility purposes from the UK or from Canada or Mexico, and have a certificate of health from that vet certifying the horse is not carrying any diseases, etc. And also there's going to have to be a certification that it is of the purebred breeding animal category so that we can classify this product under purebred subheading. This is the process that you go through in the classification of your products under General Rule of Interpretation 1. What is that systemized approach that we are using for classification? We are looking at our product, understanding the content of that product, the description of the product. What is the product? Then if we define that, in this instance as a live horse, we go to our alphabetical index in the tariff, look up horses, find that, and under that category a listing broken out by different categories, and we find live horses broken out. And referring us to heading 0101, we look at that heading and it appears that we have our product classified. But according to General Rule of Interpretation 1, we have to and are required to look at the section notes and the chapter notes. Those notes throughout the tariff, not just chapter 1, it is throughout the entire tariff with the sections and the 99 chapters found there, the chapter notes, is going to direct us as to what falls within the section and what falls within the chapter. There are notes that tell us certain things do not and certain things do. So this is the way that we work with General Rule of Interpretation 1. I will give you another example on the classification of a product, and this seems to be growing in use on the customs broker exam, and that is foodstuffs, such as our example of a sweet potato. How would you classify a sweet potato? Again, you would go to the alphabetical index if you have a sweet potato agricultural product, and you would look that product up in the alphabetical index, find the heading that it refers to, that product, go to that heading, read the terms of the heading, and see if the product falls within the heading. Then you would always read the section and chapter notes to see if there's some reason not to classify it in that chapter, or it directs you somewhere else. To illustrate another classification process that would employ the section chapter notes, or the method that you would use for that, would be a pony ride at a fair or carnival that has the ride equipment, such as the turnstile, where the ponies are hooked up to this turnstile, and the children get on the ponies and ride around in a circle on this turnstile. How would we classify those ponies? Are they live horses? They are. How would we classify those? We would go through the same process that we did for that purebred racing horse, live horse, and we would find that we would end up in 0101, and we would read the section and chapter notes. And if you recall earlier from reading those notes, under chapter 1, note 1C says, this chapter covers all live animals except C, animals of heading 9508. So if you are classifying here, you need to know what is covered under 9508. And what you will find if you go to 9508 is that rides that I have described with the ponies and the machinery that they are hooked to for children to ride those ponies in a circle are excluded from classification under 0101. And this is applicable throughout the tariff in your products, on screws, on porcelain, on wearing apparel, footwear. You have to read the section and chapter notes. This is the key. Remember, the general rule of interpretation says that we are going to be classifying for legal purposes by the terms of the headings, section and chapter notes. That is the key. If we're unable to classify by general rule of interpretation 1 by the heading, section, and chapter notes, then we go to the next note to classify our merchandise, and that is general rule of interpretation 2.